Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of Pilot. It's been almost like half a year, I think, or maybe a year. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Long time. You have no idea.
Pilot? What's a pilot?
Well, the way they pick TV shows is they make one show. That show's called a pilot. Then they show that one show to the people who pick shows. And on the strength of that one show, they decide if they want to make more shows.
It's showtime!
What have you done? What have you done?
People need dramatic examples to shake them out of apathy.
Oh my God.
He said the age of heroes would never come again.
It has to.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
This is your responsibility! You're not prepared for this! I'm working on it!
This show is gonna be incredible.
Me and Stuart, we're here for a brand new episode, and today we're going to talk about one of our favorite things ever, which is Red Letter Media.
All right.
I know, right? Oh my God, I feel like I've been pitching this episode since the first one. It's like, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it.
You have, yes, you have, and it is my fault that we haven't. That it's been so long because I'm always like, well, I gotta go back and watch stuff and blah blah blah, and like. I will say that, like, I think you and I are very similar and that we will go back and watch these, like, on repeat. Yes. But at the same time, it's like, I don't do a good job of, like, remembering details about them because I can always just go back and rewatch them, you know?
Exactly,
so it's like,
exactly, yeah.
You know, so when you said that, I was like, man, okay, first of all, I have to even figure out, like, what my top 5 is. Like, that's going to take some time because there's, like, you know, hundreds of episodes. Yeah. I got to go through, like, all that and figure out, like, what those are. But then I got to go back and rewatch them and, you know, have, like, you know, have them fresh in my mind. So.
Right. So I think the first thing, you know, just to start out with is, how did you first get introduced to Red Letter Media? Because I feel like everyone's story is different. It's always a different video, and to me, it's always interesting. So, like, how did you get introduced to Red Letter Media?
This is going to be kind of a bad answer, but, like, honestly, I don't remember. I somehow have a feeling that it probably was through you. Honestly, like, following each other on Twitter, like, it was probably you mentioning something about it and me being like, oh, I should check that out. But I don't remember if there was, like, I don't remember what the first episode is that I watched, and I don't really remember what was the touch-off point that sent me there. So what was your moment?
My moment was, like, when they started taking off. So it was way back when I lived in LA, and I believe our mutual friend, Alan Dennis, he was like, dude, you gotta watch this review. It's gone viral. It's about the Phantom Menace. And I was like, what? What the hell are you talking about? I'm not gonna watch a 90-minute review of the Phantom Menace. Why would I ever do that? Who would do that? So, of course, it was like now, it's like Christmas break, so I sat down and I watched the review, and I was just like, oh my God, this is like the best thing I've ever seen in my life. So I was like, I showed my roommates Jim and Mike at the time, and like, we got to watch this. And we watched it so many times, and we quoted it, and like almost every year it became like a tradition, because I think like every Christmas he would release like episode 2 review, and then the next one was episode 3, and it went on like that. And throughout the years, it was like Half in the Bag, and I would start watching Half in the Bag, even though like I didn't really care about the movies they were seeing, because early on they would see everything. You know, it's not like now where they pick and choose which ones they want to see. But back in the early days, my God, they would see like Drive Angry and Adjustment Bureau. It's like things that no one cares about, you know. And I would still watch it because I liked the content they created. And in 2012, of course, I think everyone knows this, but I met them at Fan Expo. Because they did like those silly, you know how they do their silly promotions, like "Come meet us, what a value," you know, all their all their memes. And they were like going to be in Toronto. I was like, oh my God, Toronto is like literally like 3 hours away from here. I can go. So that was like the first time I went to Fan Expo, and I met them. And the funny thing about going to Fan Expo, I could finally tell this story. I don't know if I've ever told this, but when I went to Fan Expo to go meet them, I had my sister with me, and I had my mom with me, and we're roaming around. And when you don't know, you know the general area where they are, but the place is so crowded and so packed. Having a group of people follow you where you don't know where you're going, it's like, all right, everyone, just split up, have fun. I'm gonna find these Red Letter Media guys.
This is my mission.
Yeah, this is my mission. This is the only reason why I'm here. And it's funny too because that was a year where John Carpenter was there, and I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll see John Carpenter some other time. Meanwhile, that was
one of the greatest directors of all time. Whatever. I'll see him if I see him.
I'll see him if I see him. You know, it was really that. I was like, because I thought, he must go to these things all the time, which is not the case.
Yeah.
And there was like Rose McGowan, there was other people there, and I was like, I gotta find these Red Letter Media guys. And I finally found them because I was looking for their big giant banner that said Red Letter Media, because in their previous videos they went to the No Brand Con. Whoa, check out all the dealers. We got some anime, check out some manga. So I was looking for the big giant Red Letter Media banner, and they didn't have it up. The only thing that they had up, and my mom brought it up later, like, you walked past that table 3 times, but it was the Rich Evans baby photo. That painting, that was the only way you could tell it was their table, because that was the only thing that was standing up on it. Everything else was so plain. It was just like a little black table with some props from Feeding Frenzy, and then the Rich Evans baby photo. And there was Jessie, before Jessie was even known. Like, I don't even think Jessie was on like the reviews or anything. Mm-hmm. She was just there. She was just a girl. I didn't know who she was. And Mike was there. He was manning the table. And I took a solo picture with Mike, and I got I'm gonna buy one of everything at your table. Like, I bought a copy of Feeding Frenzy, I bought like the posters and everything. And he says, "Oh, Jay's going to see John Carpenter. He'll be back in a while." So I was leaving at like 2 or 3. So I kept circling back, and it was funny because Mike would always catch me. He was like seeing me in the corner of his eye, and I was like, "Oh, geez, it looks like I'm stalking him." But I was just waiting for Jay to come back. So it was like, I'm about to leave. Like, I'm going to leave in like 10 minutes. And I'm like, damn it, where the hell's Jay? And then there's Jay. He finally shows up because the whole thing was, you know, the John Carpenter thing was like the whole day or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Because you got to wait in line for these events. And then usually the event is like an hour. So that's like 2 or 3 hours right there. So I've been roaming around, circling back to the Red Letter Media table almost like every 40 minutes, every 20 minutes. So finally Jay's there. I get the photo with Jay, the infamous photo of me, Jay, and Mike. And I got that, and I had them sign my action figure of William Riker from Star Trek. In the early episodes of Half in the Bag, they would have that little action figure, and I think later on he would actually open the package and Mike actually try to eat it, if I recall. I think that's the...
I feel like I remember something about that somewhere.
Yeah, but I had that action figure, and I bought that at that Fan Expo for Jay and Mike to sign. So I have a signed copy of Feeding Frenzy by Mike and Jay. I have a copy of Phantom Menace signed by Mike and Jay. I believe DVD and Blu-ray, if I recall. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, the William Riker action figure that's signed by Mike and Jay. Because I was like, I got to get it signed. They're both here, and geez, they never went to another convention again. I think it's because
they never went to another one again.
I think it's because no one went to their table. You know, I think it was just like me and probably a couple other people, but.
Well, that's what's crazy about it though is like now that they have like whatever like probably 1.5 million followers. Yeah, it's like now would probably be a great time.
Yeah, that's so funny too because it was way before Best of the Worst. Because when I got there, I was so adamant. I was like, Mike and Jay, my favorite episode of Half in a Bag you've done so far is Zat. I've watched that so many times. I love that episode, Zat. And then, like maybe a couple months later, they started Best of the Worst. And to me, Best of the Worst is like my favorite show of the ones that they do. And my second favorite is not Half in a Bag. It would be Review. Because I like Review because they genuinely like dive into the movies they like. And it makes you appreciate those old movies even more. And just the way they talk about them. Because you realize it's not bullshit. They really know what they're talking about. Even though their movies aren't that great. Like Space Cop is kind of crap. And, you know, Feeding Frenzy is kind of crap. But they still put the love in it. And they know what makes a movie work. And they know what doesn't work. And it just... I love when they talk about stuff. Because, like, no matter if it's like a shit movie or a good movie... They still know what they're talking about, and they're very passionate about it, and I think that's what makes their content so watchable.
Yeah, I do find that it's interesting that they do genuinely love these terrible movies.
Yeah,
and it's like you look at their output as far as movies, and you can see that in it, where it's like Space Cop. The only one that I've seen is Space Cop, so I can't, talk about any of the other ones. But it's like you can see where they were trying to make a good bad movie, and it is like it does have genuine. I found it genuinely funny at times. The jokes were really funny, and the all the special effects are like so bad they're good kind of thing.
Yeah,
and like it's great. But yes, review as well. I 100% agree with you. That's actually best of the worst. I think is always the one where I'm like, yes, awesome, new episode, great. But I also feel that way with review, whereas like Half in the Bag, I'm kind of like, whether I watch that immediately or not is gauged completely on my interest about like the movie that they're watching. Exactly. It's like, oh, that's something that I might be interested in, so I might watch that within like the next couple of days. But like best of the worst and review are always the ones that I'm like, yes, now, watch it now.
Yes. And Mike and Jay talk about, or Mike and Rich talk about whatever that show is, the third tier episode show, but I love that as well, where it's just like, I want to hear what them talk about it. And I like those just because sometimes they avoid spoilers and they can still talk about a show without going into spoilers, which is just fascinating to me. Like the whole thing about what the hell is that? Mass? What is it? Not Black Mass. That Netflix show. What's it called?
Oh, Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass. Yeah, they totally talked about that show without going into any spoilers at all. They just talked about how well it is, and they didn't really dive into even like the plot details. And it was just so fascinating just to hear them talk about it.
Yeah, I wish they would do a little bit more of those. I think I understand why they don't, but I wish they would do a little bit more of them.
Yeah, it's probably their least watched content. I think they're probably their big, meat and potatoes is probably best of the worst.
Yeah,
and probably Half in the Bag, because I think people like watching their like comic book movies and huge review movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, plus they have the skits.
Yeah,
that go through Half in the Bag. That's the thing I think is a part of, it's not by any means the reason completely behind their success, but like I think the running storyline that they have going on with Half in the Bag is definitely something that keeps people coming back.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the best selling points of Red Letter Media and why I love them so much is that they're not sponsored by anybody. They're not there to promote anything other than what they like and what they don't like. It's honest opinions. No one's buying them. They're paying for their movies. Mm-hmm. They're completely genuine. They're completely genuine. They'll talk about what they like, talk about what they don't like, even if their ideas are sort of contrarian, where it's like sometimes they'll like something and like the other day like, nah, I don't like that, or maybe they'll change their minds over time. Like how Mike loved Jurassic World, but now I'm sure nowadays he'd probably be like, nah. But he really loved Jurassic World. And to me, that was just so great, because it's just their genuine opinion about movies that they like or they don't like,
Well, that also brings up my if it was still going, this would be my number one RLM show, but unfortunately, RIP Nerd Crew. That was for a while. That was like my favorite. That was my absolute favorite show. And then they just stopped doing it. And I think I know why. I think they just kind of like, they feel like they probably ran out the joke. There's only so much that they can do with that. I always liked that because it just poked fun at all of the sort of like corporate backed, YouTuber kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to say too much specifically, but like, Collider to me is like one of the biggest examples of that, or what Collider, or I guess they are still now, but definitely what Collider used to be, where it was like, and you could tell that there was a lot of times on Nerd Crew where they were specifically pointing out things that Collider was doing, of course, all of those corporate backed, channels do that kind of stuff. But just the way that they would just tear those guys to shreds, I just loved it.
That was so great. Like, whoa, or whatever. It was so amazing.
Very cool. Very cool.
Very cool. And then, like, Rich almost broke the camera. Rich. It's so good. Oh, my God. And, like, all the toys and, like, they're burning their stuff. Oh, my God.
One of the best moments was the, I forget what it was called. It was called, like, was it called, like, loot box or something? It was
something crate.
Yeah.
Because it was a wood crate.
Yeah, that was the ending where it was like he almost knocked over the camera.
Yeah.
But like that's one of my favorite Nerd Crew moments is where they did a takeoff of Loot Crate.
Yeah.
And it had it in an actual crate, and it was just the most like pathetic junk, you know. Yeah. But it was on like the Vienna sausages.
Yes.
Oh,
that's so gross.
Dude, that was disgusting. But it's like that's
they were like discolored.
That's
like they've
the
been
mentality.
Out for a while. Oh my God, that was so good. Oh man.
They had the like DC comic book toys that were like generic from like another country or something.
Yeah. And then the Ghostbusters action figure, they had like stickers all over to make it look like it was Star Wars, just so they could resell it. Yeah. Oh my God, that was so funny. But
I'm gonna end up watching all that stuff again now.
Probably, because I think that's what we always do. Whenever we mention something, we have to rewatch it.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite best of the worst episodes. And originally, because we like to joke about this, because we've been talking about this episode for like a whole year, maybe 2 years, but we always joked about, okay, we're going to do the Star Trek rules. We're going to do the Star Trek rules of what Mike and Rich do, where if Mike says a favorite of Rich's, Rich has to find an alternate. But new ground was broken on the show review, where it was Jay and Rich, where they did a John Carpenter ranking. And now I understand why they did it, because when I was watching, I'm like, why are they doing it the way they're doing it? But now, trying to figure out your favorites, and like you can't find an alternate, you know, there is no alternate favorite.
Because, you know, Carpenter has like a set filmography. Yeah. So it's like if you say, oh, my number 7 is this, you know, the other person can't say like, oh, well, I'm just going to knock off my number 7, you know, or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So we're going to do the John Carpenter ranking rules for this episode. But I don't know who wants to start first. Do you want to start first, or should I start first?
It doesn't matter to me.
I think we'll start with you.
Okay.
So what's your number 5 pick?
I will dip my feet into the water here. So my number 5 is Plinketto number 9. For reference, that was the one with Space Jacked, Dungeon Master, and the Suckling.
Oh, that's a recent one. Okay, yeah.
And that right there pretty much tells you everything you need to know about why I love this episode. Is like the Suckling is such a ridiculous sounding movie, and they just they just tear it apart in the most hilarious possible way. Space Jacked is also pretty amazing. One of those like cardboard set sci-fi movies. Hilariously terrible. And Dungeon Master is like, it has some funny moments. One of the funniest moments for me is when Rich is trying to describe like what's happening, and he says like, Satan just shows up and it's Bull from Night Court.
And then they discover that line from the movie was a line that's like said by Adam Savage from like Mythbusters or something.
Oh yeah, what is it?
That was one of the cool reviews.
I reject your reality and I substitute my own.
Hey, that's something.
I know. That sounds familiar. What is that from?
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
The movie is split up into like, I think it's like 5 or 6 segments, or maybe 4 segments or whatever. And each segment was directed by a different person. And like some of them were by the people who worked on Deathstalker, and then there was like other people. But yeah, it's a anthology movie basically with like the running. I don't even know if you really call it an anthology movie.
It's more like the director directed the scenes or sequences in the movie.
Yeah. So it's like there's a couple of different sequences, and each one is directed but it's still like one story.
Yeah.
It's still like a single story. But The Suckling is really that whole discussion is really like the main, hilarity point in that thing. So that movie is about a woman who goes to get an abortion at an abortion clinic that's also a bordello somehow. And she gets this abortion, and the aborted fetus turns into it's so ridiculous. I can't even get through the thing. Somehow gets flushed down the toilet into...
And there's like chemical waste.
Yeah, there's like chemical waste, and it becomes a monster, and then it comes back and attacks everybody. And yeah, just the discussion around that, the jokes around that, it's classic.
I remember watching that one and just thinking, because like some of the movies they find are just like so disgusting or like so raunchy, and that Suckling one was just so like, oh my god, I can't believe this movie exists. And not only that, but it's on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
A nice and clean Blu-ray.
Yeah, good old Vinegar Syndrome.
Oh man, they're awesome.
The funny thing about it is, and this is a point that I want to make in this discussion, is that I would never watch The Suckling, by myself, right? Because it just looks terrible. It looks like a complete waste of time. And part of the reason that I love Best of the Worst so much is that beyond the hilarious jokes that they make out of these movies, basically, like, they make it to where you don't have to watch these movies.
Right.
Like, they mine the funniest parts out of them, they make fun of them, and then you get to watch that and enjoy it, and you don't feel like you've wasted an hour and a half or 2 hours of your life watching these horrible movies.
Yeah, they're going through the war zone for you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But yes, that is my number 5.
That's your number 5. So that's not on my list, so there's no doubling up, so that's good so far. My number 5 is Wheel the Worst, number 18, which is, I believe, episode 75. It's the one where they talk about the Satanists were partying, preventing crossing at the... Oh, no, that's what he says, because he's so drunk. He says, preventing crossing at the disaster. It's the bus crossing where they're like, no! And the bus gets hit by the train. And the infamous part of this episode, the reason why it stands out to me, is the Rem Lazar discussion.
Oh, yeah. Rem Lazar is like one of the classic Best of the Worst moments.
Yes. Just because when they're talking about it, they always joke about 9/11. They always do. Like, one of my favorite things is when the Star Wars Holiday Special, where they don't talk about the holiday special, all they do is go on tangents, and one of them is like 9/11. It's one of the...
Yeah, that was actually one of my alternates, was the Star Wars Holiday Special that's not about the... My note was the first one where they just get drunk and fuck around.
Yeah, where they're just clearly fucking around and just talking and just rambling. And I love when they ramble. Rambling is one of the best things that they do.
Yeah.
Like, there's some episodes where, like, the best part of the episode is them rambling. And I think those are always the episode where Rich says, this is the worst thing we've ever done. Or where, like, Rich is like, nobody gives a shit. Because there's like an episode where, like, Josh is carrying the episode because he's the only one who's sober enough to tell the movie, because Mike and Jay are completely fucked up. Rich doesn't care, so Josh has to carry the episode. And usually Rich is always putting a stick in Josh's spoke by like, nobody fucking cares.
Nobody gives a shit, or something like that.
Shit. Trying to talk about the fucking Dr. Butcher MD.
Nobody cares.
Rich.
Yeah. So I like those episodes where they ramble. And this one, episode 18, they go on one of their little jokes where they're just joking about 9/11, and all of a sudden, freaking Rem Lazar ends up at the World Trade Center. And they're like, oh my God, he's there. But this one had some great moments where they talk about the Satanists and we're partying, where the guy did the spray paint on the trees, and it's all fucked up, but they're still improvising. And then they look at the DVD and they find the coffee stain and they think, oh, is that original? And it turns out it's a copy. Like little weird shit about the movies they watch. And then where they talk about the bus, and like I think this is the one where Mike picks the bus video over everything else, even though they watched Rem Lazar. But yeah, I just love Wheel the Worst, and that's my number 5 for this one for Rem Lazar.
Okay.
Yeah.
That moves us on to, I guess, number 4.
Yes.
And my number 4, I don't know. I couldn't find like a number on this one, so I'll just read out the movies that they watched. It was Twin Dragon Encounter, American Rickshaw, and Infested.
Oh shit, that's a good one. That was the one I was trying to figure out. I didn't know what episode that was. That was on my short list.
That was it, and it's a pretty recent one. It's one from last year. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I chose that is because all of these movies are ridiculous, and they're great. Everything in Twin Dragon Encounter is so dumb.
Hey, you. Apologize for calling me a Mack truck.
You know, it's just like crap like that. Oh
yeah, the slow motion fights.
Yeah, the slow motion fighting, and like, you know, the girls, they're like sawing the log, and the girls are like trying to get them to go swimming with them, and they're like, we have work to do, and it's like, dude, you got 2 girls in front of you in bikinis, and you're choosing to like saw a log instead. Like,
and
come
they're
on,
just brothers. It's gross.
Yeah, and the thing where the villains like break into their cabin and steal the poster. I don't know why that's so funny, but it is. You know, it's like they steal the Twin Dragon poster.
Yeah, that's the one with the cop who's like, those are my best friends, and you're getting emotionally involved. They're like, no, you're getting emotionally involved. Oh my gosh.
One of my favorite parts of that episode is how, like, when they're discussing it, they identify the vanity aspect of the whole project, and then they just go on this long tangent about how vain the brothers are, how they're just actually just in love with each other, and that's like the whole thing. I've always thought that was really funny. American Rickshaw is also hilarious because it's such a weird film, and they have a really good discussion centered around that. Rich's explanation of the story is hilarious. They have him do the synopsis, and it just keeps going and going and going. And you can tell in the audio where they've cut the spaces out of him, and because it's just so long that they just like cut and start overlapping stuff. That's really funny to me. And Infested is interesting to me because like I kind of feel like it's almost like a genuine like old school B movie from like the 60s or 70s. It has like actual actors that have done like that you kind of know, like you've maybe seen them in other things. This is not like random people that like, you know, they put a piece of paper up on like we're making a movie up on a community board somewhere, like come be an actor. Like these are real actors, you know. There's like the Pink Power Ranger and the guy from Gremlins, and there's like a guy from Star Trek Voyager, and there's Rem Lazar. Rem Lazar is in it.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like they have like real actors, and it just has that feeling of like
House on Haunted Hill or something from the 50s or whatever. It has like all these actors, you know, but it's like a cheesy movie.
Yeah, but it's like it's 100% a cheesy movie, you know. And I think like everybody in it knows what they're doing, you know.
The Two Tickets to Paradise stands out to me in that.
Yeah, Two Tickets to Paradise. I love it when they have the whole discussion around that. And
Two Towers, Two Tickets to Paradise. Is it all connected?
Two dragons.
Twin dragons.
Whoa.
Oh my God. The McNamara brothers caused 9/11.
And then he's like, Mike is like, that was the cheapest sync track that they could find online. $500 for Two Tickets to Paradise. And then Rich is like, it's the 2 tickets Eddie Money deal. You get 2 Eddie Money songs for the price of 1, or something like that.
Yeah.
So they had some really great jokes in that one, and I love how they end it with Colin from Canada. He's like in his apartment. He's like watching movie or something. He's like just shoveling junk food in his mouth, and he's like, you know what?
It's COVID. Yep.
Yeah, because it's COVID, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go get fit, and he like goes out and he goes to like they actually find the actual building that the Twin Dragon gym was in, like, whatever, 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's obviously it's not that anymore. Yeah. And he goes there and like it's like out of business and like has a for lease sign on it or whatever, and he's like, oh well. And then he just goes back to his apartment and starts eating junk food again. So
yeah, I think that's one of his visual effects he does.
Yeah. I think there was an actual business in there, but they added on like a bunch of like for lease things,
spray paint or stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my number 4: Twin Dragon Encounter, American Rickshaw, and Infested.
That was definitely on my short list because there's a lot of good moments in that one. Like the American Rickshaw, I think that's like the sex tape that they have, and like he hits the girl.
Yes.
And then Donald Pleasant's not caring. And he's like going, where he literally doesn't care. Like there's a scene where he's supposed to be emotional to his wife and he just doesn't care. And then I love the moment where they're watching the movie and they notice that they're reusing the same extras from the crowd.
Yeah.
Because there's like a little old man
who's wearing a blue hat.
The old man teleported. It's so great. Because that's what they do in movies all the time. They just move the crowd around, but they didn't pay attention to where the guy was in the crowd.
Yeah.
And then, like, Infested, that stood out to me just because there's, like, scenes with, like, we could, the bees. We're like, we can't do the bees. We can only pay so much for the bees.
You only paid me for 1 bee. Now you want 1 million bees?
Oh, man.
One more thing I forgot about American Rickshaw is when he's, like, I guess he kind of, like, tries to kidnap the woman that was trying to get him on the sex tape. And he's, like... He, like, holds up a syringe and he's like...
You scream, I swear to God, I'm gonna stick you with this thing, all right? I found it in the gutter. I'm sure you're familiar with AIDS.
Yes!
All right.
And all of them just lose it. It's hilarious.
Yes. Oh, my God. That's an awesome episode. So, number 4 on my list... I didn't write the episode. I think I have my notes here. I'm trying to make sense of it. Wheel of the Worst, number 20. It's the one, so for the people out there listening, it's the one where they pick Energy in Me. I use it every day.
I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could do it, guys. It depends on how much longer this video goes. Play the song again, man.
Oh my God, that's such an earworm. It gets stuck in my head like on a daily basis. And then
now it's gonna get stuck in my head. Thanks.
Energy in me. I can't handle it. I can only take so much. And then the second video they watch on there is Christmas with Dennis. Hey, look at me, and he's playing with it. And
dude, that one is awesome. Christmas with Dennis.
Yes, Christmas with Dennis. I just watched it. Okay, so today, full disclosure. So I knew I only had so much time before we recorded these episodes, so I went on YouTube. And I just like kept going through the list. I'm like, okay, this one. And then I watched them at like double speed so I could take down notes.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I could squeeze like a couple episodes in ahead of time. And this was definitely one of them where I was just like, oh my God, this one. And then the third one they watch on that episode is The Thing About Money, which is a okay thing. But the reason why it's like, is because the fourth movie they picked, which is they cheated, which was Silver Foxes. Which is amazing, which has Sal Pacino.
Yes, I remember this. Yeah.
Jackie Stone, as Rich calls her, and Laurie Williams doing her, what do you call it? Where she's crouching over Jackie Stallone in a power dominance move, and then Jackie Stallone like curls up like a little beetle bug. Oh my God, it's amazing. But Energy in Me cracks me the fuck up every single time I watch it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh my God, where they just, it's like a 75-minute video, and Mike always points it out whenever there's a long video on there. He says, someone put it on the wheel, and it always zooms in on Rich. Like, it's his fault. And then It's a
well,
callback.
as we learned from one of my favorite Red Letter Media videos, which unfortunately I could not include on this because it is not a best of the worst video, which is their organizing our movie collection video, he does pre-screen.
Yes, that was interesting to hear. That's his job. His little job is to pre-screen these movies.
What do you do all day? I make sets, carve pumpkins, and watch shitty VHS pre-screen shitty VHS tapes.
And then Mike fucks with him and moves the tapes around so he has to watch them again. That is so torturous of Mike. And it just cracks me up that they've been friends for like almost their whole lives, like 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
And Mike keeps fucking with him after all these years. Oh my God. But like The Energy in Me is sort of a sequel to a previous video they watched, which is Worm Mania, which almost made my list because I love that crazy worm woman. I think in that Crazy Worm Woman episode is also the croning ceremony, if I recall. I don't know if it's correct or not, but I think it's, like, to me, if I recall in my head, my memory, I think it's the same episode. Could be wrong, but that's a great episode. But that's one of the reasons why I picked it. Christmas with Dennis is amazing because they're just sitting there. And Rich is like, I can't handle these Christmas tapes because it just looks like they're being tortured. Because, you know, when they cut to that screening room, like most of the time they're all sitting there. But I love when the tape is so bad where it just cuts to them and it's usually just Rich and Josh sitting there because Jay and Mike probably left to go take a poo or go have a slice of pizza. It's just like Rich, and like sometimes I love it when they cut back and Rich is like asleep or on his cell phone. Or, oh my God, one of my favorite moments, I forget which episode where, I think it was, it could have been Death Stalker, but I think Rich was on his phone. No, it was the Cannibal one, the Cannibal Island, because Rich did not give a fuck about it. And Mike was like, what is the fuck? Get the phone out of his hand. Stop it. Oh my God. But yeah, this had that moment where it was just Rich and Josh. He says, I can't handle it. I have a headache right now. And then, what do you call it? Oh my God, the thing that just cracked me up while watching it again, which is during Christmas with Dennis, Dennis's sister's in the video. So they superimpose, you know, when they do the little dial where it's like half dissolve. So it's her playing the piano, but it's also her feet moving. So it looks like her feet are playing the piano, and that just cracked me up during this rewatch. I was like, holy smokes, that's amazing. And oh my God, the Silver Foxes is just hilarious. I'm not worried about Harry. I have that written here, where Jacqueline Stallone is just such like a mean woman. You could just tell it from her attitude in that video. Oh my gosh! And then I love when they just crack up at when the overdub comes onto the video and says,
"Don't worry if you're not following the exercises perfectly. Just keep moving and have fun."
Because they're all... That just cracked me the fuck up. I was like, oh my God, they're so bad where the overdub had to explain, like, it's okay, because no one else is doing it okay, so it's fine that you're doing it wrong. But yeah, this is one of my... number 4 on my list of favorite episodes.
Okay, I'm just gonna throw this in as an aside because you mentioned it while you were talking about this. Yeah. I love the fact that someone gets up to take a poo has now sort of become like a little bit of a running joke.
Yes.
Throughout this. Did that start? When did that start? Was that in New York Ninja?
It started recently. I think New York Ninja was the second time it happened because I think Mike was drunk and he says, "Don't tell him I'm going to take a poo. Don't tell him I'm going to take a poo." And then he leaves and then it zooms in on Jay and it says Mike left to go take a poo.
And then they did it again in the Christmas episode, right?
Oh, wait, maybe you're right, because I think it's so recent. Like, you're right.
I think they've done it in at least 2 episodes now.
Yeah, because Rich left to take a poo, so you're right. I think that was New York Ninja, because he didn't want to miss anything, but he had to go use the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then Mike is so fucked up in the Christmas episode, that's the one, because he's wearing the Christmas sweater when he says...
Are you editing this?
Yeah.
Don't you do it. Don't say I'm going to make a poo.
I'm not going to do anything that isn't the truth.
Don't you do it!
All right, number 3
on
my list is, I guess I may have spoken too soon. This may be the one point of overlap for us.
Oh my God.
Everything that I have on my list is either a full best of the worst episode or spotlight episode. But this is not.
What is the overlap?
And that is the Christmas 2020 episode.
Oh my God, there is some overlap. Okay. All right. So since this is the John Carpenter ranking, I'm going to full blown say it. That's my number one.
Oh, wow. Okay. Here's what we're going to do then. Since that's your number one, like you talk about that, and we'll just skip it for me on number 3.
Let's just talk about it now, man.
Being that it's my number 3, I would rather give up that slot to you to be able to talk about it.
It's okay, man, because that's what Jay did. Jay's number 1 pick was The Thing. And he talked about it one of his number 3 on Rich's list. So it's okay. It's okay. We can talk about it. Let's do this. John Carpenter ranking style.
Okay.
Okay, so you talk about it. Yep.
If that's what you want to do, we'll do it.
And we'll just discuss it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
Okay. I'm just gonna put it out there. Second Chance versus Magnum Force. You can't get any better than that. It's one of the funniest videos that they have ever watched on any of these things. It just hands down, that alone, that one video is makes the whole thing. There are other funny parts in there, but Second Chance versus Magnum Force carries that whole video.
I kind of disagree. I think freaking Gordy Falk, his pumpkins, man. That is like a Halloween tradition now. I think ever since this episode, it's become one, because I think this was the first Halloween where I went back to watch it, and I used that Gordy Falk video to help me carve my Halloween pumpkin, which I did.
Oh, wow.
I watched this video because he's like a drunkard, and he drew the permanent marker on there, and he completely fucked it up, but I didn't do that. I drew the permanent marker and cut it the way I was supposed to, but I went by Gordy Falk.
Did he help you choose the right knife?
No, I used the little, the little kit that you buy for kids or whatever. But I was doing what he did. I'm like, okay, so all he did was draw the design on the pumpkin, and then I'll do that, and then angle it and do what Rich Evans said: use the best side of the pumpkin. Yeah.
I love it when they show the pumpkins that Rich carves. And it's these really nice, elaborate, more elaborate pumpkins, really fancy as compared to Gordy's,
Yes.
It's
you're just an average man. You are Rich Evans.
Yeah, that's Mike's you are just an average man. You're Rich Evans.
Meanwhile, Rich Evans is an actual artist.
I think it's Tim. It's either Rich or Tim is he calls him Gordon.
Gordy.
Gordon Falk or whatever.
Yeah.
And Jay is like, no, his name is Gordy, which is, perfect because he messes around with pumpkins all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I just thought that was hilarious that he makes the connection between gourd and pumpkin and Gordy. So.
The other thing, going back to your favorite part of this, the Second Chance versus Magnum Force, how they discover that it sounds exactly like Roger Ebert. Oh my God. That is so amazing. And then his little helper looks like a Laura Dern or something in the little leather outfit.
They're like Laura Dern in her first on-screen role.
And then he just shoots at a car and then actually makes it explode. And then he's he shoots at the car and he's not supposed to stop the car, but he accidentally stopped the car by shooting at it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then oh my God, Small Change.
Small change, yeah.
That little musical cue is stuck in my head, that doo-doo-doo.
And everybody's fingers look like potatoes.
Yeah.
Or no, it's their fingers look like sausages and they look like potatoes.
Yes. Oh my God. And then how Mike goes on the whole ramble about Scott Peterson and Lacey Peterson and Drew Peterson.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the blue barrel, the Dahmer barrels.
It's
Holy
so
smokes.
awkward, but at the same time so hilarious.
Yes. And it just goes on forever and ever, and they're just fucked up and they're drunk. Oh
it's
my God.
one of Mike's Ghost Adventures rants.
Yes. Oh my god! And this is one where like Tim Higgins gets super messed up too, because he's like, "You pushed me, Rich." Like he keeps messing with Rich Evans.
Dude, that's the funniest part. Is like he just by the end of the episode, he is totally smashed.
Yes. Where he can't even finish his thought, and he gets the one title wrong. He says it ain't worth, or like the episode, like the video is called "It Ain't Worth It." But he like called it something else. Oh my god, it's so good.
And there's like a psychic lady. Is it a psychic lady?
Yes, she knows where her biscuits are buttered.
She knows who wants crispy chicken.
The rubbly glove. Oh my god. And how it looks like a Tim and Eric sketch. Oh my god, it's so good. Hey, we're the drunkies. We're drunking around, Rich.
Dude, I love the monkeys, and it is hilarious to me that they have Mickey Dolenz on there.
Sloshed. Smashed. Embarrassing.
Plastered. Wiped out. Sloshed.
And it's so funny because like all the people on that video, they're all people who would have been like relevant when that video was made in like the late 80s, early 90s, but now have kind of like drifted into complete obscurity, you know, as far as being an actor goes.
Yeah, and they make fun of that. They're like, the celebrities are like Cleopatra, Jesus Christ, Julius Caesar, Socrates, Sigmund Freud. What is a geek? And
I almost forgot the. I mean, this part's not that funny, but the pool aerobics thing.
90 degrees in the pool.
Yeah, and there's people doing laps in you can still see them in camera, like they didn't frame it out, so there's people still doing laps.
And there's like a couple that's like making out in the pool, and they're trying to like it's like you just see them in the corner. And then of course Dream Bunny, which is brief, but that's also something to bring up of that episode.
That is so weird.
Where it's like Estelle Getty and like it's all these kids, and then there's like Renee Ramsey. And there's,
John Renee Ramsey.
But yeah, this like it's your number 3, but it's my number 1 because it makes me crack up so much, and how it's like they're all black spines. He's like, no, it's just so amazing. And then what was the other thing in the episode? Since it was like COVID, and I don't know, it's just people needed a laugh, and I feel like this episode really does that.
Yeah.
And oh my god, what else happens in this episode where it's just freaking amazing? Damn. But anyway,
the guy, I mean, we didn't mention this, is where the second chance guy literally shoots himself in the chest.
Oh boy.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Ooh. Easy as pie, guys.
He's like genuinely afraid. And then, oh my god, speaking of Tim Higgins, there's like one shot where it's like they cut to him. I think it's like during Dream Bunny or something, where it's just like everyone left to go eat, and it's just him sitting on the couch by himself, and he's got that creepy ass look on his face. I forget what video he's watching, but it just made me laugh because it's like straight out of The Shining. He just like Jack Nicholson going crazy watching these VHS tapes.
Dude, I have to say, like, I'm fine with him, like, being just sort of like an every once in a while guest, but like he is one of the funniest additions recently that I feel like they've had in a long time. Like, that dude's just hilarious.
He hits home runs all the time, and I hope he stays to the Black Spine episodes. Like, he's good with the movies, but I think he does well with Black Spine. Like, Macho Bell. Blot.
That's a great moment,
yeah.
Blot.
Tap, 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 tap.
Okay, so number 3 on mine is episode 60, Wheel of the Worst, number 16. Damn it! Did I even write it down? I don't even know what the first video thing. Oh wait, it is. Okay, it's the one with George Washington. Mind your manners, man. And then the second one they watch is one of my favorite things they ever watched, which is Top Slots with Jimmy the Scot. Oh my God, it's so amazing.
Oh, that one's amazing, dude.
Yes, because the third one they watch is Surviving Edged Weapons.
Classic. That is a classic. See, I genuinely I thought about going to that one, and I was like, that's gonna be on his list. So
yeah,
I'm gonna avoid it.
The Star Trek thing. Okay, I got you.
Well, that's what I was thinking at the time was we were doing the Star Trek thing, and I was like, I'm gonna try and avoid anything that I feel like is definitely gonna be on his list, and I knew Surviving Edge Weapons would be.
Yeah, Surviving Edge Weapons. Like, to me, I think this episode is a good introduction. Like, if you have a friend who hasn't watched Red Letter Media or anything, I think this would be a good episode to start them on. Mm-hmm. Because there's at least 2 solid entries in this episode. Because the first one, Mind Your Manners, is average. There's some jokes there, but the meat and potatoes is definitely. What are the secrets, Jimmy? Tell me the secrets. Where he's just shaking his hand and he's crazy, and then he just sits down, and then they show the Jimmy, Jay Leno magazine, and it's just hilarious where he just loses all his money, and then it concludes with Surviving Edge Weapons, which is legitimately like a diamond in the rough for these, Wheel the Worst, Black Spine kind of things, where it gives them all the content they could talk about, and it's very surprising to them that it's actually good and well made. And one of my favorite moments of the episode, just like because it's so awesome in Edge Weapons, is when and they're watching the movie, and they there's a sequence where it's like, holy shit.
Yeah! Fuck yeah! What?
Yeah!
What?
This is an interesting twist.
And I think that moment makes me want to watch Surviving Edge Weapons. I haven't yet. That's surprising for me. I haven't watched Surviving Edge Weapons. But that sequence right there makes me want to watch it because the cops are like, holy shit. They go in there. And then the guy with the knife, like, Christ, I'm only a block from my house. Why don't you let me go? Oh my God, there's so many good moments. Like, this is one of the first episodes where I think Mike does the no. Like, he's done that recently. I think it was like on the latest episode.
Yeah, I think the Christmas episode this year.
Yeah, but it doesn't quite hit as well as this one, because the reason this one works so well is because as he's going no, it's because Josh is reacting to it because he's like, no, like he's going to explode. And it's just so great. And then one of my favorite little moments in this one is where, like, hey, this looks like the font from Mr. Mom, and Josh is like, I'm going to watch Mr. Mom tomorrow night. And Mike is like, that's like the most fucked up thing I've ever heard in my life. And then they cheat to land on Surviving Edge Weapons, which is hilarious. This episode also has Mike making fun of Rich Evans' Pac-Man t-shirt.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
If I were to wear that shirt, I'd be so embarrassed. And then the 4-person rock paper scissors is hilarious.
Rock paper scissors. You're first. All right, I'm first.
Does that work with 4 people?
No, it doesn't. That would be a very confusing mess.
And then oh God, the Mind Your Manners, man. That whole rap is crazy. Oh, and how they slowly realize that Surviving Edge Weapons takes place in Madison. They're like, 94 West Madison. Oh my God. And then how Mike can't remember what the Hall of Fame is. He's like, it goes in the Hall of what's it called? And Jay's like, the Hall of Fame. It's just so hilarious, and that's where the Hall of Fame starts, where it's like the picture of Cameron Mitchell and Surviving Edge Weapons. And the dog barking. How many edge weapons do you see there? There's just so many great moments. Oh yeah, 1 feet, you get killed. 5 feet, you get killed. 50 feet, you got a chance to get a shot off. And then, like, one of the best moments they talk about Surviving Edge Weapons is, you go for that knife, I'm going to blow your brains out. But it's so good, and there's actually some useful information. Like, if I ever get shot, I know I could use my ID to seal the wound before the police arrive. I did learn that from that episode, and that everything is a knife.
The more you know.
Yes. But this episode is definitely one of my favorites, and it's totally perfect for if you want to introduce like the show to somebody. I think it's up there.
Yeah, I totally agree, 100%.
How many edged weapons do you see now?
Okay, number 2 is gonna be my first of 2 Spotlight episodes.
Ooh, yes.
I really like the Spotlight episodes because they're only doing one movie. They're sort of able to, I think ultimately a lot of times they end up making funnier jokes.
Yes.
They can spend, whereas they're just trying to like talk about, like if they do 3 normally, or in the case of like a wheel, where they might do like 4, 5, or 6, they're trying to limit their time. So they're just like throwing things out, whatever comes up. But it's like when you do a Spotlight episode, you have more time to like really talk about, like really dive into something. And just, I think to me, the Spotlight episodes genuinely seem to be funnier than a lot of the regular episodes. Mm-hmm. But my number 2 is the Spotlight episode for Hollywood Cop.
Oh!
It is, I will say that is primarily the Tums Festival bit.
Holy shit, that is that episode. Oh my God.
That makes me crack up every single time. There is a person on YouTube that cut out just that section and like did some light editing, and like no joke, I have probably watched that bit like 20-30 times, and it makes me laugh every time. The way that Rich is just so convinced that he does not say Tums Festival in Hollywood Cop, and that he says it in Samurai Cop, and the way that Jay is like 100% right, and he's like, no, it's a Tums Festival.
Wrong.
Wrong. Now take your mic and say wrong.
Wrong. Oh my God, and that's been repeated so many times. I forgot to mention in my Billy B episode, but the Billy B and me or whatever, Josh says something because Mike is saying, oh yeah, he does the Who guitar thing, and Josh is like, no, he doesn't do the Who guitar thing. He says, this is a Tums Festival for you, my friend.
Rewatching that episode, and I think this is what you mentioned about the Twister's Revenge episode, which is like they have like a genuine camaraderie. Like you genuinely feel their friendship in this episode.
Yeah.
Or that's what stuck out to me when I was rewatching it last night. I was just like, man, these guys, you can tell like these guys like, they've been friends for a while. So that's probably the only other thing that I would say, other than like I kind of want like watching these have made me want to go back and see if I can find all the Amir Shervan movies and watch them, because I have seen Samurai Cop, but that's the only one that I've seen.
Yeah, it's warm and ready. Bingo. Yep. I think that's the only. No, wait. Have I watched Hollywood Cop? I have a copy of Hollywood Cop. I found it at Savers a few years ago. I don't know if I watched it, though. It's just a DVD copy. It might be full screen, but I think that's the only way to watch it. It's on full screen.
Oh, it probably is, yeah.
Yeah, but that's... I do own that because I picked it up for like $3, so it's not like I'm paying $40 through Vinegar Syndrome, but it's just like, if I could, if I could find it for like cheap, I'll pick it up, and that's one of them.
Yeah. Hollywood Cop is one of those movies where it's like, yeah, I'll pay $3 for a DVD. Like, that seems reasonable.
Yeah, that's what I did. I was like, I'll pay for it.
This falls in line with a good, bad B movie. It's not one of the best.
No.
But there's so many, like the weird like shootout where the guy has the sword and he decapitates the guy, and then...
And it has Cameron Mitchell as the grumpy police chief.
Every day ends with a Tums Festival.
Oh, God, is it my turn?
It's your turn, number 2.
Oh, God. Okay, my number 2 pick is, do I even have, like, the notes of what... I do have Wheel of the Worst. That's all I have. What episode is it?
There's a lot of those.
Yes. Hang on. I'm trying to make sure. Damn. I don't. I think it's Wheel the Worst number 21. I could be wrong. I could always edit it out. But it's Wheel the Worst. I think it's the one that they came back from COVID, because I think there was a time where they just did half in the bags.
Mm-hmm.
So when they came back during COVID, I believe it was July 2020, it was the Turtle Dreams, Safe Food Attitude, Princess Gwendolyn, and Massaging the Elderly.
I don't remember that one. Maybe I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, but this one I've rewatched multiple times. I remember when it came out, I watched it 3 times in a row, because just how Rich Evans hates avant-garde art pieces, but he goes like Turtle Dreams.
It's the one with the avant-garde dance thing.
Yes.
Okay, now I remember. Yeah.
Where it's a turtle walking on the moon, and they talk about the double moon theory. And it's just where they genuinely try to break it down of what it means, and Rich Evans is like, no, it's just crap, it's just shit. And then, but they totally love the yep. And then the Safe Food Attitude. I think this is the same one where Jay, this is the time where he was growing out his hair to look like McCready or something, where it's huge and long. But he keeps talking about fan fiction. I think this is that episode. He's like, Mike or Rich is creating his own fan fiction, and he does it 3 times. And then they talk about the girl who was in Safe Food Attitude. She's from a sleepaway camp. And then I think everyone's like, yeah, who cares? But Jay's like, wait, I gotta mention it. And then Princess Gwendolyn, where it's like, and they just come up with all these different theories of why she became Princess Gwendolyn. Like, come on, Zeke, we gotta put the castle in the back of the truck. And then, oh my god, this is the one that has one of my favorite fucking moments, where they talk about how dolphins are very rapey. And Mike and Jay are talking to each other, where he's like, I almost wanted to say, Rich, don't tell stories about your mom. And Jay laughs, and he says, it's very funny, but I'm glad you didn't say it. But they're just whispering to each other. Meanwhile, Rich is completely oblivious, and he's completely talking about the show they're talking about. But Jay's like, I'm glad you didn't. It's funny, but I'm glad you didn't. But there's so many little jokes in this episode that it just has so much rewatchability. And I love this episode, and it was definitely during that time when, I needed it. It was during COVID, where nothing was going on.
Yeah.
There was nothing to do. And this episode came in at the right time. And there were so many freaking funny moments in it, like the whole Turtle Dreams thing. And even at the end, they put Rich Evans in the skit. I love when they do that. Every once so often they do that, where they put Rich Evans into the bad movie. This is one of those where he's like, oh. And he's dancing with a Meredith Monk. And it's just amazing. But yeah, I love this episode. And then, oh god, there were so many. What other things they talk about in this one? Oh yeah, Massaging the Elderly. I think this is the one where everyone left the room, but Mike was still watching it. And then he knocks over the shelf that has all the nookies on it. 'Cause he's like... But yeah, this is one of my favorites. Is this Wheel the Worst? I believe 21. I could be wrong, but I believe it's 21.
All I wanted was that old man in his underwear to flip over and kind of spread his legs apart and start massaging his taint. And I was really hoping for that, and it didn't happen. It was just boring.
Okay, so this is number 1.
Oh my god.
Numero uno. It's another Spotlight episode.
What is it?
Diamond Cobra versus White Fox.
Oh my god! I knew it had to be on this list.
It is one of the all-time greats. It may be the greatest thing that they've ever done. For anybody who's listening to this, you will not be able to see it because it was taken down, I think, a week or 2 after they released it.
Yeah.
Somebody re-uploaded it. And I got smart, as apparently you did as well, and I ripped it from YouTube as soon as I found out that there was a re-upload, and so I actually rewatched it the other night. The movie itself is so ridiculous, and so just like it is the very definition of like somebody making something who doesn't understand how bad the thing they are making is.
Yes.
One of my favorite things in this episode, which I don't remember whether they've ever done this again, is that they gave Rich his own reaction cam. So there's like a camera that's dedicated to nothing but Rich the whole time. And I love Rich Evans. I love his cackle, the like cackle that he does when he thinks that things are funny. I love the fact that they basically just had a close-up camera on him the whole time that they would cut to every once in a while. There is just an endless amount of great jokes that they make in this. So much weird stuff happens in the movie that they just it's endless fuel, you know?
Yes.
I mean,
endless.
They probably could have made like a 2 or 3 hour version of this video and it would still be funny, you know, because there's just so much ridiculous stuff in it. And I love the fact that there's a character in the movie named Barbecue.
Oh my God, yes. The bartender, right?
No, he's the Barbecue is the gang leader.
Oh, the gang leader.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the bartender just because the wings, because he
pulls
the wings like 2 seconds.
The wings that she's like, she walks up to him and she's like, I want some of your famous wings. And he's like, here you go. It's like immediately they were just there, you know?
Yeah. Oh my God, and how they deep dive into every single character that's in the movie, and there's like 40 different people in that movie.
Yeah, they start off with like a contest to name 5 characters apiece.
Yeah.
And then they eventually go back and they're like, okay, let's name another 5 characters apiece because there's so many people in this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
dude,
amazing.
there's so many great moments in it. I feel like we could probably spend like half an hour just talking about it. But yeah, that is my choice for number 1. It is hands down to me one of the funniest episodes, might be the funniest episode. And it's just genuinely the movie that they're talking about is so genuinely ridiculous that you get the double whammy of like laughing at everything that happens in the movie that they show, but then also laughing at the amazing, hilarious jokes that they make about it.
Yes. And that is one of those movies that they always talk about where the best bad movies are someone who doesn't know that it's bad.
Yes.
Or know what they're doing, but it's a passionate project for them.
Exactly.
What?
Do you want to
go through the short list of alternates?
Yeah, like we don't have to. We can just list off, and you know, we don't have to really go into them. But
yeah, I got some. I have some alternates here.
Yeah, you want to go through yours and
yeah, sure. I'll just list them off. Not going into too much detail. One of my alternates was Black Spine 3. With where they talk about the cat, where she's like massaging the cat's ear.
That's the Junko, right?
I believe so. It's the one with tricky people, and then I have Hunter here. What the hell is Hunter? Because I just wrote down like quick notes. I have Hunter for some reason. Oh man!
I think that's the first Black Spine Junko one because I have that on my list too for alternates.
Episode 67, The Croning. That's all I have, because I think that's like the only thing I liked about that episode. And then Black Spine 2, Majabel, and the Girl Scout Cookies. Spookies with Action USA.
That's a good one.
Yep. And then Twister's Revenge.
That is a good one as well.
Yeah, those are my alternates.
My alternates were... This one was actually, like, really came close to being on the list, but it was Jacko, Rock and Roll Nightmare, and Shark Exorcist.
Yes. That's
that was a great episode, and obviously Shark Exorcist is like, I mean, that's an amazing segment that they did. Yes. Next up is Planketto number 6 with Rocktober Blood, The Pit, and Man Killers.
Oh my god, that one's so good. Because
Yeah.
they have the writer there, which is just hilarious, because Jay is trying to explain Silk. And the guy's like, I think I could explain it better than you. And he says, the writer's going to write about it. Oh, he's going to talk about it. Yeah. And then, the writer's like, I have no idea where this is going to go. And then Rich Evans completely guesses the ending of the movie. I guess another short list of mine would probably, I didn't write it down, but it would definitely have to be the one where they talk about Never Been Kissed.
Oh, yeah. Where
Just
they,
because of that sequence, yeah.
Yeah, where they were extras.
Yeah.
That is one of the better
Evans
segments.
Are not coming back. That alone is worth putting on the list.
Miss Barrymore will be very, very upset. Another one, a spotlight episode would be Petey Wheatstraw.
Petey Wheatstraw. I just rewatched that the other night. Oh my god.
I really like that one. I like those Rudy Ray Moore films, and it's fun.
You did buy those, right?
I did, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Some of them I bought the box, and then I bought the ones that I didn't already have.
Right.
But yeah, I'm probably going to end up doing videos for those next year. But my next choice my next alternate would be the Vampire Assassin, Hack-O-Lantern, and Kathy's Curse.
Oh my god, your mother's a bitch.
Yeah. It's mainly for Kathy's Curse, just because it's like, your mother's a bitch.
That's the one with, you're the devil's son.
Yeah, Hack-O-Lantern. That one's pretty good, too.
There ain't no demon in this film. That would be on my alternate list. That should have been, I think.
And then there's the Star Wars Holiday Special, the first one where they just get drunk and fuck around.
Yep. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. These men are pawns.
And then another spotlight episode, Blood Shack. Just because Blood Shack itself looks like a terrible movie.
Yeah, that's one I would never want to watch, but what they do is make
But they do seem to be genuinely enjoying themselves the whole time. Yes. And that's what I like about that video.
Yeah.
Black Spine edition number 3, which you talked about, mainly because it's so fun watching them play Junka.
Yes.
It gets so intense. It gets genuinely intense at the end because you think that it's gonna. There's so many times where you think it's gonna end and it doesn't. It just keeps going.
Yes.
There's a Wheel of the Worst number 11 where Rich says something about fart bags, and
oh my god,
Jack makes
fun of him.
Jack makes this big thing about family fart bags. And that's one of my favorite moments. I don't really remember what else is in that particular Wheel of the Worst, but I just love him doing the big family fart bag thing. And then my last alternate was the spotlight episode for Lichen Colony. Because the movie is so ridiculous. I mean, it's just awful. But watching them watch it and make the jokes is hilarious.
Yes. Okay, so I was going to say, now that we finished this, what is your opinion on the older episodes? Because I feel like there's a certain point of time where I won't rewatch certain episodes because I feel like they've gotten better since then. I wonder if you had the same opinion.
Yeah, I feel like there was definitely a turning point where, and I don't know exactly what it was. I'd have to really go back and look at it. But the earlier episodes, you could kind of tell that they were still trying to sort of figure out what what works for it. You know, what's funny, what's not. You know, how to sort of fashion jokes around, around what they're doing. But yeah, like I said, I'm not sure exactly where that line, is, but there's definitely a point where it's they start getting a lot better. The early episodes are kind of I wouldn't say boring, but they're not as like exciting or, just like they don't grab you the way that the other episodes do.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've been trying to pinpoint that too, because I'm such a fanboy. I watched the episodes over and over again. But I found myself not going past a certain point. And I don't even know where it is either. I know it's one of the... I think maybe after the wheel is introduced. That could be it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe not, because I think one of the first ones they did was the wheel, because that's how they watched that candid camera video or something. So I don't think it's the wheel, but there's like a certain point where they just got better at doing it. I don't know if it was editing or if they found like, wait a minute, we should just record the same episode the same night. Because something tells me in those early episodes that they would record the day after.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I got the vibe from a couple of those episodes where they clearly shot the discussion a day after or maybe a couple days after. And there's like a different vibe or disconnect.
Yeah. I'm looking at the playlist on YouTube right now, and I can tell you that there's an early episode that has Deadly Prey, Hard Ticket to Hawaii, and Miami Connection on it. And that episode should be one of the funniest episodes that they've ever done. I mean, those three movies have just like endless amounts of material to pull from. But I remember watching that episode and being like, that's not that funny. Mm-hmm. And Jay is wearing like a tuxedo for some reason, like during the discussion. So I have a feeling that goes back to what you were talking about, how like they were probably doing the discussions later, But I hate to say this because I don't generally advocate people getting smashed, but like I do think that like them drinking throughout watching the movies and then like it sort of like loosens them up for a better discussion afterwards. Yeah. And like if they were doing the discussion the next day, that's probably what was killing it. Was A, they couldn't remember what they watched or barely could remember what they watched, and B, they didn't have any, liquid courage in them.
Yeah. So that's been today's episode of favorite best of the worst episodes. I don't know if we'll do another one of these. I don't know if we need, because I think we talked about like all our favorite things and why we love best of the worst and RedLetterMedia. Yeah, I think we covered it all. So we need to find different topics.
For any of you listening to this who want to see Diamond Cobra versus the White Fox, I'm sure that we both apologize for hyping it up so much. It is incredible. You probably won't be able to see it unless you know somebody who has somehow ripped it or downloaded it when it was available. But it is amazing as we say it is. And yeah, I guess it's just going to be your white whale for the rest of your life.
Yes. It is the best episode.
Or until the lady who made it decides to like unblock it or like let them, re-upload it or whatever. So...
yeah, until that claim ends. So, yeah. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Hey, that's Stuart's line.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye, Dr. Nick.